Bravery, the definition is courageous behaviour or character. Well, for me, I didn't really use the word brave until I had my children. You know how it is when you have children. They're really brave for going to the dentist, and they're really brave for falling over and scraping their knee and not having a full-on screaming, oh my God, my knee's fallen off meltdown. It certainly wasn't something I would have used as a word to describe my childhood or my early 20s, or even my illnesses, or maybe my illnesses, because, you know, some of the procedures, you have to be brave to go through some of the procedures, but I wouldn't have necessarily called myself brave for coping with my illnesses. It's, you know, it just, you have an illness, you have to deal with it. You get medication or have surgery, which I've been through quite a few. And I guess you could say I was a bit brave getting through some of them, especially my spinal one. Yeah, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't have put it in front of what I've been through. But now, obviously, I can use the word brave, and I put it in a learning perspective. You see, I've been through a lot of traumatic experiences from my earliest memory to probably my mid-20s. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And I remember my social worker telling me when I was at that nice vulnerable age of 17, you need to stop paving over the cracks and you need to start filling them in. I'm assuming she was talking about a path or a patio or something at the time, but I was 17 and I thought I knew it all. Obviously, I had been through a lot of trauma, hence the social worker. I was in foster care. And I thought, I didn't really understand the full meaning of what she was saying. And I guess, I didn't really understand what she meant until I had a full-on mental breakdown. And at the time, I used to call it a nervous breakdown because, that's what people called it. But it wasn't really nerves, was it? It wasn't a nervous breakdown. It was having panic attacks, crying from the minute I got up to the minute I went to bed. It was the fear of dying constantly. It was mental. It wasn't nerves. It wasn't a nervous breakdown. It was a mental breakdown. And, I guess I questioned my sanity for so long that it was really hard to see a way out at the time. And I certainly wouldn't have called myself brave back then. In fact, I thought I was a bit of a wuss, to be honest. I was kind of, 10 years of my life was wasted because I couldn't leave the house. I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't do anything. And I was an emotional wreck. And for some people, filling in those cracks works. But, for me, rehashing all the experiences I went through, it didn't help me at all. I didn't, talking about the past and what I'd been through actually made it worse. It wasn't something I wanted to revisit. But I learned to accept it and move on. And I know you're probably thinking easy for her to say. It wasn't easy at all. But if I wanted to carry on being happy and with my children, I needed to own it and make sure it didn't happen again. That was one of the massive things that obviously everything I've been through, I didn't want it to happen again. I didn't want it to happen to any of my children. So for me, it was a case of, right, it's happened. There's not much I can do about it. I can't go back and change it. So I need to accept it and move on, and not in a, in kind of like a, oh, well, I'm just going to forget it's ever happened, because that doesn't work either. What changed for me? Reading a book. A really good book. It sounds so daft when I say that, but a really good book. And it taught me that it was my reactions that determined how I was going to deal with the situation. It had like a profound effect on me, but it also helped me with my children as well, and dealing with autism and ADHD. That was a massive help to me. And so much so that I carried on my self-development journey and turned my history, my past, my experience into a learning skill, and now teaching others, women who have disabilities, mums of children with disabilities, because I'm both. I am disabled myself, and I have 3 children with disabilities. You know, so I have all this experience, and I learned how to manage without falling into that pit of despair, and how to change my reactions. And, you know, if you were brave and you could, you know, if you could get through all of this and know that actually life could change for you, wouldn't you want that too? It's, again, it's brave is not a word I would have used, but I do now, because do you know what? I am brave, I am strong, and I got through all of this and I've come out the other side. And now I want to teach you how to do it too, because anyone can do it. Anyone can be brave and strong and empowered and get through life. But sometimes you just need the added bit of help and the tools to be able to do that. And that is what I do. So if you would like to know more, please put a empower in the comments, and I will reach out and see if we can help. But yeah, be brave, be bold, but most importantly, be you.